Do you feel like he was chosen to break generational curses? Or have you heard somebody say they was here to break generational curses? No, that's not for the weak. Let me tell you how. And if you don't know me by now, my name is KC. Welcome to my channel, Conversation for the Ordinary. People that are chosen to break down generational curses and break the chains of bondage, generational bondage, they're chosen. It's not for everybody. It's not for anybody. It's not for the weak. Like, God specifically create people, such as myself, create people, groups of people, and bloodlines on purpose so that he can break down those generational curses, because it's not for the weak. And I'm not saying everybody is weak. There's a whole nother type of strength, let me tell you. Follow along with me. Y'all remember the Israelites, the chosen people, God's people, right? Y'all remember when God told Moses to go over and free his people, right? God did not say, Moses, I'm going to have you free my people and I'm going to take y'all directly to the promised land. He didn't say that. See, God gave clear instructions on what he wanted Moses to do. And it was very, very important that Moses followed these instructions. So if you give me a second, let me go ahead and be your navigation system for a second. Moses went over to Egypt, freed the Israelites. They crossed the Red Sea, and they had a pit stop into the wilderness. And see, so many times people want to read the story of the Israelites in the promised land, but they don't want to get into the nitty gritty. And I feel like the story of the Israelites is perfect for perfect instructions, first of all, or a perfect example for people that are chosen by God to break generational bloodline curses or bondages. So this group of people, they stopped in the wilderness. And while they were in the wilderness, God also gave instructions on how he wanted his people to operate. He did. He would speak through Moses. Moses would speak to God's people. But it got to a certain point where they started getting a little weak. Because I did tell you this is not for the weak. So why were the Israelites starting to break down? Because they weren't directly in the promised land, right? God did a pit stop on purpose because he can't take you to what you belong to, right? Royalty. He can't take you to your land when you're not equipped. You don't have the mentality to maintain it. You have a different heart. You're broke down, busted, and disgusted. He can't take you over there with the same mindset that you had over in Egypt as a slave. He also had to start to reform his people. And he wanted them to know that I supply all your needs. Everything, your daily bread comes from me. That's a whole nother mindset to have. Like, dead serious. A whole nother mindset to have. Can you just solely depend on God and not the world or others? So while this pit stop in the wilderness, the Israelites began to complain, and they even started to compare Egypt to where they were. And it was like, oh, we was eating good over there. We was doing real good over there. They forgot where they came from. And this type of calling ain't for everybody, and this is why. This is why. So while the Israelites are in the wilderness and they're complaining and everything, God is supplying their needs. Moses gets irritated too because he's trying to take all these daggone complaining heathens and give them and tell them what the Lord is saying. And see, sometimes us chosen, we can get complacent, we can get comfortable, and we can start becoming weak in the process and in the wilderness moment where it doesn't seem clear and it doesn't seem like you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. But you got to start trusting God. See, in the darkness, you got to remember that God is our light. In the darkness, you got to remember that he is going to take us where we need to go. Our natural eyes, we can't see where we're going. So God is our leader. And that's when we need to start depending on him. But the Israelites, they start messing up. That generation started messing up. But little did they know that God was continuing to use them and work on them and groom them and change them and give them new habits and give them new mindsets and help change their hearts and the way that they do things, because where he was taking them, those old habits were not going to be good where he was taking them. See, they had the mindset of a slave, but they're royalty. They're children of the kingdom. But their mind for so many years was captive, and they felt lower than and less than, and they were tied down by the bondage that they were in and the habits that they had in Egypt. And so at this stage in life where you're in that pit or the wilderness, it gets uncomfortable. It gets tiresome. You want to give up. Like I said, it's not for the weak. And so we all know that particular generation did not make it to the promised land. And everybody is not going to make it to the promised land. And let me explain the promised land. See, the promised land was a physical thing for the Israelites, right? But the promised land for us is seeing benefits. We're seeing the harvest at the end of the tunnel. We're able to see it in the spiritual realm. We're able to see things change before our eyes. And so just because you're the chosen doesn't mean that you're going to actually see the product of the promised land. And I know you're like, what? Wait, what? Key, you mean to tell me I'm about to go through all of this and not even get to see it? See, some of us will, but not all of us, because again, some of us get to that wilderness space where we become complacent and comfortable and don't want to move anymore. But God continues to make a way out of no way. See, he still continues to change our heart and our mind. And as we're changing, say you have generational bondage of poverty, right? So he's working on you, and he's providing opportunities, and he's giving more money to you, but he's also disciplining you of how to operate this money and how to invest this money and how to get out of the situation and the mindset of needing to depend on something else or someone else to get ahead in life. Now he wants you to depend on him, right? And so as you're depending on him, he's also instructing you to invest the money. He's also instructing you to do something different with the provision that he's given to you. And so now that your brain is starting to change, right? You have children, you have nieces, you have nephews. Now you have this amount of finances. You have the financial literacy to pass along to the next generation. Not only do you have the provision, but you have the literacy to pass on to the next generation. And so now you can tell your child, no, I want you to do this, and I want you to learn how to invest, to take a little bit and put it here. And so you're teaching the next generation, and that generation is going to teach the next generation, and that generation is going to teach the next generation. And so what you find yourself seeing is later on, there's millionaires, there's billionaires, there's people, business owners, entrepreneurs, there's people that's in higher seats and CEOs and whatever, franchises and all this other stuff. You see those things. That's the product. That's the promised land. Yes. So yes, chosen one, it might not look good right now, but trust the plan, trust the process. To God be the glory. That's all I can say to you. To God be the glory. So to sum it up, that generation did not actually make it to the promised land, but their children did. Their children were able to experience God's blessing that he promised that bloodline. And so the generations after you will be able to experience the promises of God. God is going to start breaking down the chains and breaking down the bondages and the holds that the enemy had on you. And he's going to redeem you. He's going to give more. He's going to bless you beyond measures. And you might not see it. It might not make sense to you, but you're sort of kind of benefiting from the situation too. If you keep on and you press on and you believe and you trust God in the wilderness. I hope you guys understand, and I hope this blessed somebody. And if you are the chosen, keep going. Don't give up. Peace, love, and harmony.